India saw its worst terror attack in years last week, the terror attack in Pahalgam. With me is the Israeli ambassador to India to talk about the terror attack and, of course, the Israeli stance. In fact, Ambassador, sir, you were the first ambassador to tweet about the terror attack in terms of the condolences. So, my first question to you is about the Israeli reaction, being a country which itself has been the victim of terrorism just 2 years ago. What were your first reactions? We saw the foreign minister also reacting.
It was a terrible sense of shock, because of the nature of the attack. The fact that people were shot in the head, the fact that people were religiously selected, the fact that civilians were targeted, people on vacation, people on honeymoon, This reminds you exactly what happened on the 7th of October in Israel. People going to the music festival, people just, sleeping in their homes, in their beds at 6:30 in the morning when these terrorists came and slaughtered them and raped them and burned them. So the sense is that we are suffering from the same phenomenon.
We also know that there were conversations and the Israeli foreign minister also spoke about it. You met the Indian External Affairs Minister as well. So what were the conversations like, and what were the support given by the Israeli side to the Indian side?
Well, these were short conversations in which just, in addition of the condolences, we presented our offer to stand in service to the Indian government in whatever they need, because this is a time of need. This is a time of crisis. India does have whatever it needs, but we have cooperation in the broader sense that is not connected to this incident or the other incident. And we're of course ready to expand cooperation in any of the fields that we already have, whether it be intelligence, whether it be methodology, technologies. We benefit from each other in this realm. But I think, the symbolic part, what was important, the fact that we wanted to project this sense that we understand what is happening to you. We want to stand with you in this difficult moment.
A difficult moment indeed for India today in the aftermath of terror attack, and for Israel aftermath of the terror attack when the Hamas did the terror attack. Now, essentially, sir, in terms of cooperation, I won't ask the operational details because these are very sensitive details, but what kind of cooperation can be looked by both sides? What can Israel offer to India in the aftermath of this terror attack?
Well, there are similarities and there are differences. India, for example, has to deal with a very large territory. And sometimes it's good for us to understand how India operates when you have a very large landscape, or when you are operating in very harsh climatic conditions. This is something that we don't have much knowledge of. On the other hand, there are some other things that are happening in Israel that are not happening here so far, like, tunneling or different kinds of threats that we can sort of look at and learn as much as is needed, because, you can never know what will happen in the future. The fact that some of these terrorists operate under the influence of drugs, how do you deal with that? There are so many issues that you can tackle when you have to deal with a phenomenon like that. So naturally, those who are in charge, they are doing it. They don't need our blessing, because this relationship is an intimate relationship. It's a relationship that happens as we speak, and they don't need the consent of one another in order to start talking with each other. Only when terrorist attacks happen. This is something that is happening on a day-to-day basis.
And sir, do you think that there is some kind of cooperation between terror organizations globally? We saw Hamas present recently in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, perhaps something that was duly noted here in India and in Israel as well. Do you think there is any connect between terror organizations in your part of the world and the terrorists who were responsible for the Pahalgam terror attack?
There are different kinds of cooperation and coordination, and we have to differentiate between them. Not everything is just, has to do with a certain function. The fact that organizations inspire each other, they lean on each other also rhetorically and religiously speaking when they promote this radical agenda. When they train each other. For example, we saw in our region, in West Asia, how Hezbollah was training militias in Iraq, how it was fighting in Syria and cooperating with Hamas. So there are sometimes production cooperation. There are many kinds of cooperation. It varies from place to place, but what is most worrying from my perspective is the inspirational aspect. Because our concern, and this is what we share with our Indian friends and with others around the world, is that the fact that Hamas was boasting about these atrocities they did on the 7th of October, they were boasting not just for their supporters to celebrate, but also to instill fear and awe in the hearts of the victims and the hearts of their enemies. This is what is worrying, because you have a situation in which the nature of the crimes is becoming more and more grave. As much as these terrorists feel more desperate or more radical, they adopt tactics that are deplorable. And it's only getting worse. So we've seen the terrible attacks in Mumbai that targeted different people. But I don't remember there that people were asking what is your religion is. This is something that we have to tackle seriously. It's not just a matter of dealing with this incident or the other incident. This is an international problem. And cooperation doesn't have to do only with dealing with a specific threat, but also dealing with all the aspects of promotion of that tactic, whether it be radicalization by, blocking channels or punishing those who are selling technologies and platforms to the terrorists. I saw that the Indian government banned several YouTube channels. Okay? There is much we can do. There are international companies that are giving services, or that these terrorists are using the platforms in order to spread their heinous ideology. We have to, deal with that. There are many things that the international community can do when it comes to punishing those who sponsor terrorists. When there's evidence about such a thing. We've seen, in the case of Syria, in the case of Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, Sudan, that several countries in the world have been not only designating terrorist organizations, but also punishing the governments who are harboring them, who are financing them. Okay? So I think that there is much to do in that context. And unfortunately, we haven't seen this coming from the UN. We have seen it coming from like-minded countries, and we have to work with like-minded countries in order to promote that, and in order to really give the sense to those who harbor terrorists that there is a dear price to pay for that kind of crime.
You made a very, very interesting and very important statement. Now, you've said that India should take action against terrorists, and India is taking. Now, if tomorrow India goes after these terrorists and the governments who are supporting it, in this case, India says it's Pakistan, will Israel support India?
Look, we support the right of self-defense of India. The right of self-defense is enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. This is something very basic. We are not giving advice to India or any other country for that matter of what are the measures they should do, they should take. They know what to do, okay? We know what we need to do in order to defend ourselves. This is a matter of sovereignty. It's a matter that countries are responsible of, and following this terrible attack, of course, countries have the right to take action.
So you will support India's right to self-defense?
we are supporting India's right of self-defense.
Also, India has already taken a slew of diplomatic actions. What's your assessment about India has blocked Pakistani YouTube channels because they spread misinformation? India has, of course, reduced the mission. India has suspended the Indus Water Treaty as well. What's your broad view about the actions, the diplomatic actions India has taken?
India knows best what to do because you live in this area, you have this relationship, unfortunate relationship with your neighbor, and we are not in a position to give advice. We are following that with concern. We are ready to give our support in general terms when it comes to cooperation to deal with terrorism. And as I said, we support India's right to self-defense.
In this case, India has made it clear, India has briefed the Delhi's diplomatic community, world leaders, that Pakistan was responsible for the terror attack. Now, Pakistan, on its part, has also come up with statements saying that they want transparent probe in this, they want probe with India. In the past also, they have done so, like in Pathankot terror attack. What is the Israeli reaction to this? Because globally, governments have reacted to it. So what will be your reaction to this?
We have to be very careful in how we see these things because, this is a very cynical game. If on the one hand you harbor terrorists and then you say you want an investigation, what does it mean? You cannot on the one hand be a cause for creating a conflict, okay? And on the other hand, asking for investigation in order to present yourself as a saint. It doesn't work. Especially that in the past, we've seen such investigations ending up with nothing. Okay, so this is, I think, is a very clear sign of pressure. The fact that indeed, I think those who are harboring terrorists are losing legitimacy, and I think that we shouldn't be hastened to buy into this cynical proposals.
So, Israel has a history of experience in counterterrorism. What can India learn perhaps from that and apply in this particular case?
As I said, look, we are learning from each other all the time. And this particular case is a case that I don't know all the details about. I'm sure that the authorities that are investigating it will be capable of drawing the right conclusions. And I hope, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, that the perpetrators will be brought to justice.
And so my last question to you on this particular issue is, how do you see this particular terror attack as perhaps a watershed moment for this entire region? Because the terror attack by Hamas was a watershed moment for the entire region in your part of the world. How do you see it playing out in this part of the world?
My sense of being a watershed came from the nature of this terrorist attack. Okay, the fact that they targeted vacationers, targeted civilians that were coming to, have fun, enjoy nature. They were trying to instill a fear that will get people out of that area. And the nature of the atrocities is such that it's very difficult to turn the page on. And you saw it in the way that Indian government reacted. I think it was very natural. And as I said, I hope that this incident will not repeat itself, and will be a moment in time in which the international community will gather in a more effective way to fight, to delegitimize the terrorists, to fight those who sponsor them, to cooperate in a more efficient way. Because many countries are looking at it as if it's something that belongs to a conflict that doesn't belong to them, or they think it's a law enforcement issue. Or no, we are seeing, especially following the 7th of October, that this is becoming a pattern around the world, that people, in the name of religion, they are going and killing innocent civilians all over the world, whether it be here, in Israel, in Europe, in the United States, and in many other countries in the world. And we have to do something together in order to stop it.
On that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION and
Thank you.
explaining us the Israeli view and how Israel stands with India. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Sidhant.